So in terms of who you think you need to know to go where you want to go, where you're at with that?
Okay, yeah, sure. So in terms of contacts to help the business grow, we need people like student society, maybe presidents or executives to try to get them on board with support. We need unit coordinators who are tech savvy and like to utilise technology in their in the way that they teach their classes.
Yep.
On a practical level, we need a technical co-founder at this stage because we've been outsourcing so far and it's not going to be sustainable nor scalable. And I guess with terms of businesses and people that we reach out to, we're looking for complementary or supplementary businesses that relate to study. So maybe like student accommodation, that's one that we are in touch with, or publishers, things like that, just complementary businesses to us.
Cool. And in terms of the knowledge, I mean, you already touched on that with the tech side of it, but what sort of areas of knowledge, expertise?
So technically, I'm a law and finance student. I'm in my second last or penultimate year. The other co-founder, he's got a marketing, business management background. As for the startup world and entrepreneurship and the like, we're just learning on the fly. So researching, reading on the internet, self-educating as much as we can in any way that we can or need to.
Cool, cool. The raw resources that you think you're going to need to get the most access to be able to sort of move your ideas forward.
Okay.
What are those resources?
So first of all, we're probably going to look at some funding this year. We've tried to bootstrap the whole thing so far, but really for the type of expansion that we need, we'll probably need to fly to unis, go to different places, things like that. Also put a lot of money into marketing. And I guess the other resource is human capital and the tech co-founder.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Do you think when you talk to people about your idea, do you think people get it? Do you think they understand what we would call the cognitive literacy of the idea? Do you think people go, yeah, I know all about that? Or are you finding yourself having to educate people?
So when we talk to people about it, yeah, they get it. They get it straight away. They go, okay, there's a gap in the market for connecting students to students they don't know. In terms of our actual presence at the moment, I'd say that it could definitely be improved. If people are starting to know that we exist and that there is a thing called SNET out there, but people aren't quite sure what it is. So I guess we need to start tailoring our marketing campaigns and things that we market so that people go, oh yes, this is SNET, but this is what they do, to really convert them from awareness into user.
Yeah, cool. In terms of the big stakeholders that you're interacting in and around, like universities, publishers, whoever else it may be,
Yep.
do you think there's legitimacy amongst those people that what you're doing is a valid thing?
Yeah, I believe so. Universities, well, I mean, it's a little bit hit and miss depending on whether they want to branch out and sort of take a leap of faith with introducing our platform. But as for commercial businesses, we've actually struck up we haven't sorted out the terms and conditions yet, but a partnership with Student One Accommodation, which is Brisbane's largest and most premium student accommodation provider. And they really want to use us, particularly with their international students, and get them on board and to sort of use us as a way for them to meet people when they move here.
Cool. In terms of the space that you're trying to sort of work within, do you think that you and your partner have that, Tim isn't it?
Yeah, Tim.
Have that sense of how that space changes in terms of how new ideas come in and get accepted or new ideas come in and get rejected? Do you think, or things that keep the status quo happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're always pulling it apart and putting it back together and thinking about things and ways it could be improved or ideas that get bounced back to us. I suppose a lot of the feedback that we hear is all quite similar, and it is things that we are considering ourselves. I guess our process of doing it is trying to find a common trend throughout our own thinking and the feedback that we hear in terms of moving forwards.
Yeah. Are there any regulatory challenges that you have to sort of bypass or navigate or work with?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest one that we've found so far are the university's IT policies. That's been a big roadblock with us with getting official university endorsement.
Yep.
We were so close to it, and unfortunately that was the barrier to us. So what we're trying to do is look at the IT policies of a few different universities and give them a law background. Maybe I'll try write a terms and conditions thing within the app that aligns with them, and then just speak with the unis and see how we go. But that's the biggest one so far.
Cool. And in terms of factors that you sense work against your idea, so things in the environment that you're trying to sort of get on top of or reduce the impact of? Are there any sort of negative things out there that you've come across so far?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest one of people, there's still a little bit of hesitation with speaking to strangers. Now, on the flip side of that, I think people use Tinder and they speak to strangers on that every day, but there's still a little bit of hesitation with using it on a study level. So that's a factor working against us, but I believe there are more factors working for us in our favour, that once we get our idea out there and get it into people's minds, that they will start to adopt it.
So what are those sorts of factors that you think are present in the environment that can work for you?
Sure. Well, if you look at Facebook, for example, with study groups, you might say that that is working against us. However, I believe that we can angle it to work for us, because people are still afraid of, feeling stupid by asking them. Furthermore, like Blackboard, the discussion boards, yes, they're up there, but I feel like they're pretty archaic and static, yeah, and you've got to really go through and fish them out and things like that. So what we're doing is just putting the power in the palm of your hands to pull your phone out, find someone in your course, send them a message if they're close by.
Yeah. So we talk to the students about value creation, taking raw inputs and creating something of higher value, using your existing resources to solve a problem for someone, or using networking opportunities to actually scale up things. So your idea clearly has networking value creation and possibly the value shop as well. But in what ways do you see the network side of things being a bit of an obvious question, but working in your favour?
Okay, so on a utility creation level, the obvious one, connecting people, getting people with common sort of ways of thinking, given that they're studying the same thing, just connecting them. That's all we're trying to do, whether we connect them via message or whether they use those messages to meet up in person and study. The biggest thing that really kicked us into gear to make this happen was we thought that, hey, we're sitting on level 3 of the library, there could be someone on level 6 struggling, no idea if they're there or not. So that was the biggest value thing to us, going, hey, let's build this platform to fix that problem.
Cool. In terms of your planning and the way you sort of would like to see SNET develop, to what extent do you think you can plan it so that everyone wins? The university, the publisher, the student, the lecturer. Is that part of your thinking and trying to sort of create win-wins for everyone, or do you think that someone has to lose somewhere?
No, I'm not. I don't really believe in zero-sum game theory. So yeah, I do think that we can create a homogenous community where everyone gets benefit out of it, whether it's student referrals to publishers, publishers referring to students, student to student, uni to student, student to tutor. We're working through ways to do that. We're also thinking about ways that we can incorporate the big firms in terms of tutorage, reviews of tutorage and hiring capabilities that data might feed out of that. So we're definitely trying to create a big interconnected value creation platform sort of thing out of this.
Cool. In terms of your current status, would you see yourself as being very much short-term oriented in terms of the decisions you're making, or would you say you're trying to lock yourself into a longer-term trajectory?
Our day-to-day decision making is definitely short-term, so what are we going to do to get users on board, to engage users, how can we improve it? But absolutely, we've got a long-term plan in mind. We've since day dot, we've had a long-term plan in mind, particularly with our with how we're going to monetize this.
So, so would you say funding is the sort of the conduit between being able to sort of have that more, we're acting short-term versus being able to move towards that sort of long-term?
Yeah, I mean, because funding gives us access to more opportunities for marketing, and it also allows us to build our platform up to what we would like it to be. But at the same time, our short-term strategy is to just get users on board, because without those users, our long-term plan for utility creation is going to fall flat.
Sure.
So,
in regards to the student population, are you seeing a particular segment that you would like to target as users, or do you think this is something that genuinely could be used across the entire population?
Of students? Yeah, I do see that it can be that. Right now, I suppose I've just been targeting where I can easily, lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we built a platform so it can be used at TAFE, so it can be used at college, conservatoriums of music, could even put in high school. it doesn't really matter to us as long as you're studying or just need to collaborate with someone on something. Even real estate courses, chartered accountancy things. If you can put those study realms into the app, you can find someone to work with.
Cool. All right, and the last question, which we've talked briefly about, this notion of energy, about sort of trying to identify other people's activities and trying to find a way to sort of either align yourself or to sort of tap in and strategically behave in a way that sort of gives you a benefit. Have you been able to sort of think of any areas of energy that do relate to you?
Yeah, okay. Well, it's obvious again, but university energy.
Yep.
So lectures. We can get in front of a lecture and write off that the unit coordinator thinks it's going to create value for their students, and we can speak to 300 of them in one hit. Yep. Even if we get 30 people, download the app there and there's 30 people within that subject. Yep. So there's that aspect to it. I liaise with the guild, the QUT guild, QUT party calendar, things like that. We're working on getting involved with their events. We might even have a version 2 like launch party through one of them. It's really just riding the wave of anything social and student at this point anyway, within universities.
Cool. All right, we're good. Any last words for the students in terms of their strategic deliberations around your problem, opportunity?
I guess, if you come up with 200 ideas, hope one of them sticks, because that's all we're doing. Yep. So it's really trial and error and see where the chips fall. But yeah, it's been good so far.